Everyone is chasing something in life, a dream, a career, a perfect future. But at the end of the day, so many of us put our head on the pillow and still feel empty. It's like we're running, but not arriving, winning, but not satisfied. If you've ever felt like something's missing, even when life looks fine on the outside, this story is for you. Please listen till the very end, because the lesson inside might just change the way you see your own life forever. In a quiet little village, surrounded by rolling green hills and crystal clear rivers, lived a young man named Daniel. Everyone in the village knew Daniel, and they respected him. Why? Because Daniel was the kind of man who never backed down from a challenge. If there was a broken bridge, Daniel was the first to fix it. If there was a sick neighbor, he was the first to visit. When others said, "It can't be done," Daniel would smile and say, "Then I'll do it." To the outside world, Daniel's life was perfect. He was admired, trusted, and loved. But deep inside, he carried a secret sadness no one could see. Every night, Daniel would lie awake, staring at the wooden ceiling of his little house, wondering, why do I feel like something's missing? Why, even after achieving so much, do I still feel incomplete? He had food to eat, friends who cared, and the respect of his neighbors. Yet a strange emptiness followed him everywhere, like a shadow he couldn't escape. It wasn't that Daniel was ungrateful. He just felt as if one chapter of his life was left unwritten. And no matter what he achieved, that missing piece kept gnawing at him, quietly day after day. One morning, as Daniel sat by the river thinking, he remembered something he'd heard as a child. Stories about an old man named Eli, who lived in a wooden hut near the forest's edge. The villagers said Eli was no ordinary elder. His words were like a mirror. When you spoke to him, you didn't just hear answers. You began to see yourself more clearly than ever before. That thought sparked something in Daniel's heart. Maybe Eli can help me find what I'm missing. So the very next day, Daniel decided to make the journey to Eli's hut. When he arrived, the hut looked just as the stories had described. Small, simple, and surrounded by wildflowers. Eli was sitting outside on a wooden chair, his back straight, his eyes calm, and a warm, gentle smile on his face. A smile that felt like sunlight. Daniel greeted him respectfully and sat down. Then with a heavy voice he said, "Grandpa Eli, I've worked hard all my life. I face every challenge. I achieve my goals. But no matter what I do, I can't feel truly satisfied. Please tell me, how can I find real happiness?" Eli didn't answer right away. He studied Daniel for a moment, then said slowly, "I will give you the answer. But first, you must do something for me." He stood, walked to a corner of his hut, and returned with an old wooden bucket. The bucket was worn and had several cracks along its sides. "Take this bucket," Eli said. "Go to the river every day for 1 week. Fill it with water and pour it into my well. But remember, the bucket is cracked." Daniel frowned in confusion, but out of respect, he agreed. The next morning, under the blazing summer sun, Daniel walked to the river. He filled the cracked bucket with cold, fresh water and started the walk back to Eli's hut. By the time he reached the well, most of the water had leaked out through the cracks. Still, he poured the little that was left into the well. The next day was the same, and the day after that. Every time the water slipped away before he arrived. By the end of the week, his arms ached, his back was sore, and his spirit was heavy with disappointment. On the seventh day, he returned to Eli's hut carrying the bucket, once again, nearly empty. "Grandpa," Daniel said softly, "I failed. I couldn't fill your well. I wasted so much water." But Eli's smile didn't fade. He said gently, "You didn't fail, Daniel. In fact, you succeeded. Turn around." Daniel turned and froze. The once dry, dusty path he had walked every day was now lined with bright green grass and flowers of yellow, pink, and white. Eli looked at him and said, "The water that escaped your bucket nourished the earth, Daniel. It made the path beautiful again." Then Eli's eyes grew serious. "This is what life is like. We are all like that bucket, cracked, imperfect. But those flaws don't make us useless. In fact, they often create the most unexpected beauty. One dash dash true happiness," Eli said, doesn't only come from filling the well, from reaching the goal. It comes from noticing the flowers along the path, from valuing the journey, from the lives we touch without even realizing it. Daniel stood silently, letting the words sink into his heart. For the first time in years, he felt a weight lift from his chest. He realized he'd been measuring his life only by results, by completed goals, by visible success. But Eli had shown him something deeper, that the invisible impact we make, the kindness we share, the love we give, even the smallest act of effort, might be watering seeds we don't even know exist. When Daniel walked back to his village, he still didn't have all the answers, but something inside him had shifted. He no longer saw his flaws as failures. He saw them as part of his story, and from that day on, he didn't just chase goals. He began to notice the little moments, a smile he could give, a helping hand he could offer, a flower blooming by the road. Moral of the story: so many of us believe, I'll be happy when I reach my dream. When I get there, I'll feel complete. But life isn't only about the destination. Your cracks, your struggles, your mistakes, they may be shaping the path for someone else's growth. The kindness you show, the love you share, even the smallest act of effort might be watering seeds you don't even know exist. So don't be ashamed of your imperfections. Don't measure your life only by big achievements. Look around. Somewhere along the way, you might already be creating beauty that will last long after you're gone. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to our channel so we can keep sharing stories like this. Hit the like button and share it with someone you care about. Thank you for being here.